Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening. This is Adrian Lacey. It's the Comedy Slab. I'm down in, or up, depending on where you are in relation to me, in the southeast of England. He is in the Midlands, so he's definitely up compared to me, and a superior performer as well, so up in more than one sense. And between us, we are going to go to some hello news, hence the special hello from me at the top of the show. Google it if you're not familiar with the show, but we've got some news on that in just a mo. And then we will be dissecting on the Comedy Slab, hence the title of the show. We're going to be dissecting Defending the Guilty, which is a BBC Two show. It's also a Bigtalk Production. Lots on that in a bit, but should we dive straight into the comedy news? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I saw what you did there with the old God moaning, but yeah,
you've got a name drop there, actually, haven't you? Because you were telling me just before I hit record, you've virtually interviewed everyone in the cast.
No, only a couple of.
Well, Kenneth Connor was in it, wasn't he? I can name drop about him as well in a bit.
Yeah, Kenneth. Yeah, were you? Because you were working on a low. Do the story, because people go, "Oh, this is about."
Okay, yeah, let's do the story first before I completely lose track. Well, there is a sort of connection with the show we put on the Slab last week, which was It Ain't Half Hot Mum. That's a Croft and Perry show. We got some news about a Croft and Lloyd show. So the same David Croft, but with Jeremy Lloyd co-writing a show which is 40 years old this very year. And I refer, of course, to Hello.
These kind of, I mean, they're making a retrospective program, aren't they? Where they interview the cast members and all that kind of stuff. And normally that kind of, like, I always think that, this cheap end of telly when they interview stars, for one, I'm doing air quotes, stars, for want of a better word, to say, what did you make of it? All I loved, I think, I don't give a toss what they thought of it. What am I watching this for? But these, I have to say, and Channel 5 have done these, they've got a track record of these, because I remember I saw the Are You Being Served one, and I think I saw the Only Fools and Horses one. Although the BBC was a big three-part and was much better, that one, obviously, as it would be, because it was their programme. But yeah, I mean, I out of that kind of cast, the not cast, genre, I suppose I should say, these are the better end, aren't they? Don't you think? Where they're actually talking to the people. It's like me talking to you and going, well, you worked on Hello, what was it like to work on? And that's more interesting than you asking me, what did I like to watch? What did I think when I was watching it? Well, nobody cares what I thought when I was watching it, do they?
Well, if they don't care, then they won't care about the Slab. But having demolished the entire point of this particular podcast, but you've clearly got such confidence that we might actually...
Oh, hang on, I'll get my coat. I'm sorry.
Now, that's a reference to the Fast Show, I think you'll find.
No, isn't there a difference, though, between kind of saying, I used to watch it with my mum when I was having my tea, I used to watch it when I was picking my feet in front of the fire. It's a bit different from what we do.
As well. Oh, no, sorry, you were using that as an example.
Where we compare and contrast. And we often say this, that watching and that's why we watch stuff twice or listen to stuff twice, is because when you watch it, just relaxed watching it or listening to it and enjoying it is very different from sitting there thinking, okay, what's happening here? What mechanisms are they using there? I do think it's I'm trying to defend it. Am I? Have I?
I think you just about dug yourself out of a very mighty hole, which ironically you dug yourself into.
My foot's still bleeding, if that's any consolation. So
stop picking it.
Where I shot it.
This article, which well done. Just bandage it while I'm talking. We found this article on chortle.co.uk. I'm sure there's other publicity about the show elsewhere, but Sue Hodge is in the show now. If you don't know her by that name, I'm assuming she was the diminutive lady, was she not? Given her character name was Mimi LeBonc. Yeah.
That's why I laughed.
They didn't care, did they?
Hodge.
Again, I was saying just before we hit record, so I must share it with the wider audience. Gordon Kay This was another reason for doing this story. I remember now. Last week, I turned Gordon Kay into Gordon Kennedy, which is a bit of a shock for Gordon Kennedy, who thought he was in Absolutely rather than Hello, assuming I've got the right Gordon Kennedy. But so apologies
he's been in touch wanting to know where his royalty checks are for Hello. You've caused a real problem.
He'll have to speak to the estate of Gordon Kay, because sadly Gordon Kay, who played René, is no longer with us. And actually, on a more reflective note, I was actually working on the show. Well, I must have done definitely more than one series, because in between times Gordon Kay had that terrible accident, which in my mind I associate with the sort of hurricane of 1987, but I might have misremembered. But certainly high winds caused a tree to blow down while he was driving, and the wretched thing went through his windscreen. Yeah. And he was quite seriously injured, and to the point of I could actually see the injury on his forehead. Yeah, I mean, you still could to this when he was on set, couldn't you? When he was in the program, you could see I mean, he was lucky to survive that, wasn't he? I mean, there was no question. It sounded a bit touch and go, yeah. Yeah. But to his credit, I was thinking today that there was no evidence he didn't seem to struggle with lines when he came back. I mean, it didn't seem to impair his memory, which you think would be a big danger for that kind of thing. Which hair flick were you working with then? Was it Richard Gibson or was it David Jansen? Oh, no, you're getting a bit... David Jansen was on Radio 1, wasn't he? Kid Jansen? Kid Jansen. Do you remember David Jansen? He was in Get Some In, wasn't he? I think David Jansen. You see, you're more across that. I only remember that as a title of a show. I'd never actually saw it. He was one of these actors. He was in everything, and then I hadn't heard of him from years, and then I think he took over from Richard Gibson when he left as Hair Flick, and he took over that role. And then the next time I saw him was he played the postman in Keeping Up Appearances, which was a really, really minor role. And I kind of think, he's a great comedy actor there. And I don't know who he upset or whether he got other irons in other fires. I don't know what happened, but he just disappeared off the radar and then popped up in really small stuff. Strange, really. Well, it's a very uneven business, isn't it? True. Could be a change of agent. We don't know. I don't know. Let's face it. If we weren't running this show, neither of us would be in it, would we? Let's be honest. We'd be even more of a nobody. And we're already nobodies. It's touch and go whether I'm staying now, the my behaviour, I'm not even sure I've ever been a somebody, to myself even, never mind anyone else. I've got to say, if you were listening to last week's episode, by the way, you can actually hear me. You can hear the cogs whirring when Adrian referred to Gordon Kay as Gordon Kennedy. Oh, you wouldn't let it lie. Well, and I thought, well, that's disgraceful. He's used the wrong name. But I thought, what's even more disgraceful is I can't remember what the right one is. Anyway, so this show comes out. I'm not sure we've got a transmission date, have we? But look out for it on Channel 5. The story is up, as I say, on chortle.co.uk, and it'll doubtless feature in other TV listings, magazines, all kinds of things. But quite sobering to think, 40th anniversary, I mean, a very much... more sober anniversary of the Falklands War. I never would have said, if you'd said, did they start in the same year? I don't think I would have thought Hello was that old. No, nor me. Or that you were that old, no. No. But sadly, both are true. You don't see scripted comedy run for 10 years now, do you? There's I was just trying to think, some of the ones Ideal ran with Johnny Vegas on BBC Three ran for about 9 series, I think. Red Dwarf has been going for about 12 series. Probably longer than 10 years. But again, they started around the same era that this did, didn't they, in the 80s? It's amazing, isn't it? To survive all the changes of fashion, apart from anything else, and ways of consuming TV shows. It's the absolute revolution of catch-up technology and all of that. Yeah. Can I just say, I was lucky enough, and I just mentioned this before we started, I was lucky enough to interview Arthur Bostrom, who played the policeman who mangled his French. But Mongled his French. Mongled his French, yes. Mongled his French. And I met him where the theatre was. I think it was the Derngate in Northampton. It might not have been, but it could have been. And I was interviewing him, and he was backstage, probably in the afternoon sometime. And I purposefully strode up to him, very tall man, purposefully strode up to him, shook him by the hand,
and said, like I was the first person to say it, said, God moaning.
Oh.
And he went, yes, he said, but he said it wasn't actually, it was good moaning. He said, I never said God moaning. So he was very, I use the word kindly, I don't mean it as he said, but he's very precious about the
if you're going to do it right. Well,
the gendarme brand, yeah.
So look out for that on Channel 5, retrospective 40th anniversary of Allo Allo. So to the matter in hand this week, and I'm bound, before we hear the first of two audio clips from the show we're putting on the Slab this week, I'm bound to ask you how you felt when you found out this was your homework for the coming week at the end of last week's show, Defending the Guilty. Did you feel that it might be found innocent or guilty? Or
I can't remember whether I told you last week, but I'd actually watched this.
I think you did, actually, to be fair.
As a sneaky punter, I kind of thought I'm going to nip in here and watch some comedy. I'm not going to tell Adrian. I'm not even going to review it. In fact, I'm going to have no opinion at all.
That's unthinkable.
I know.
Yes, you did say that. And actually, I then realised the error of my ways, which was assuming, because I hadn't seen it before, that it was a brand new show. I think you pointed out. And my researchers have subsequently confirmed, of course, it goes back to sort of 2018, 2019. So 3 or 4 years old. And so if I don't remember too inaccurately, I think you had reasonably positive vibes about it.
Yeah, although what occurred to me, and almost immediately that I started watching it, what occurred to me was that I'd kind of, I don't know, I got put my brain on half erase, I think, because I couldn't I remembered some of the basics of it, but as I was watching through, I'm thinking, actually, this is like watching it for the first time again. So, it was, it's one of those where you kind of think, oh, what did I think of it? And I couldn't remember. Whether it was Gordon Kay or Gordon Kennedy. Do you know what I mean?
It's good that you've wiped your memory, or it sounds like you haven't consciously wiped it. It's just wiped itself without checking whether you wanted to keep it. But for our purposes, then it's not bad to start with a clean slate. It's a bit like juries are directed by the judge to continue the legalistic view of the world. They're directed to not take into account anything from outside the courtroom. So, you judge this show on your first and second viewings of the past week, which that's the way of the Slab, is it not?
This is the way of the Slab. It sounds very religious when you say it that way, yeah. If I did jury duty, the judge would say, I want you to wipe from your mind anything that you've heard in the last... Oh, Shane, that's all right. He's already dribbling. That's fine.
Yes, and he doesn't know... he knows who wasn't in Allo Allo, but he can't remember who was.
Yes. Yeah. So, overall, kind of looking forward, really.
Oh, excellent stuff. Well, let's hope there's a happy ending, if I may use that term in this connection. So what can I say by way of background? It's a BBC show. It is a Bigtalk production for the BBC. It's been out on BBC Two. You will find it currently as we speak. I can't guarantee it will stay there indefinitely, but certainly as we're recording this, it is available on the Player of I, otherwise known as the iPlayer, the catch-up service from the Beeb, certainly within the UK. And if there are other ways to find it, which are legal, decent, honest and truthful, just like, of course, the barristers themselves within the story, Shane, you can be sure, will put them in the blurb to this very edition of the Comedy Slab. So, yes, I've given away the fact they are barristers. They're sort of... I don't know too much about the legal world. It's a bit of a mystery to me, but they're working towards silk, which is what? That's making them QCs?
QC, isn't it? Yeah.
As Eric Morecambe said in the unsound 70s, he's a QC. What's that, says Ernie Wise? He's queer as a coot. He can't help it. What we have is, a pupil barrister. This guy, well, it always throws me, actually. I don't know how you feel about this. When the first name of a character is the same as the first name of the actor playing them. Yes. We have Will Sharp starring, and he's playing Will Packham. Whether he will pack him in, we'll have to see. But does that make you think, oh, is that a weird coincidence? Or did the writer start by thinking that he wanted this actor playing them?
I'm the same as you. I always think, why did that happen? Did that happen on purpose? Is that just serendipitous? I've no idea really why. But yeah, I mean, because Will Sharp rather does write, doesn't he? He's written stuff before.
Oh, right.
But he's not written this. So you couldn't even go, oh, he's just thought, I couldn't be bothered, put my own name down, I know where I am.
Well, sometimes that does happen, doesn't it, with writer-actors, and you think, right, they're sort of giving clues that it's semi-autobiographical, I think I'd be inclined to say. Yeah, but Will Sharp has an intriguing look, and he is, do you know his heritage, his background?
No.
He's half English and half Japanese.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I thought you meant did I know who his parents were? Yeah, he was actually wasn't he brought up in Japan?
Now you've already done more research than me.
No, I just happened to catch something somewhere.
Yeah. Born in London, raised in Tokyo. So and then I don't know which. Then returned to the United Kingdom. Doesn't say what age he was, and studied at Winchester College. Oh, okay.
Well, he didn't start at Winchester College at 8, but I think he wasn't there till 9:30.
That's beautiful. You got there before me.
Sorry.
Saw it coming, but I still enjoyed it.
I just loved his name. His full name is William Tomamari Fukuda Sharp. Yeah, I always have trouble with the vowels with Japanese names. I don't know why. But yeah, what a wonderful mix that is. He's not a guy I'd come across previous to this, is he? Have you seen him?
I just think I recognise him because it's such a distinctive look. But if you say, which show was that in? I'm just having a quick look at his background. He was in W1A. Maybe that's where I've seen him.
Yeah, I can't really remember him in that, but.
And he was in Dirk Gently, but that was TV series. I think there was a radio series as well, wasn't there? Casualty years ago. Cockroach, that one passed me by, I think. And your favourite genre, panel show, Never Mind the Buzzcocks, that goes back to 2008.
Right.
Oh, he was a writer, big pardon, so he wouldn't have appeared. But
he does a lot of writing, yeah. Should we have a clip?
Yes, I think it's high time.
A headline.
Thanks for the prompt. So, what's the background to this? It's a kind of a scene setter, as ever, taking a leaf out of Shane's book, where this is not at the very top of the show, but pretty close to the top of the show, so it helps us set the scene. So we have Caroline Bratt. That's her character name. Whether or not she lives up to it, you'll have to see. And then the aforementioned Will. Safe to say Will, because I could be talking about the character or the actress you've gathered. And someone who is, the defendant, who has a certain penchant. Let's just say if he wanted to, as it were, go straight, he might want to become a tailor or is there a word seamster? I know if a woman does it, it's a seamstress. There must be a seamster.
Yeah. Seamster, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Caroline's just checking on the detail. Oh, and I should explain, there is an odd visual thing, which of course you'll miss on the audio here, which is that Will is literally, not bending over backwards, but bending over forwards to demonstrate the woman in the example, which you'll hear, who's having a slightly odd thing done to her.
Okay, so you stand behind these women on escalators and you get your scissors out.
Yes, exactly, that's right.
Then you cut their dresses while they're not looking.
Yes, just at the nape here. 3 snips for a perfect square. I did this one on the way here.
Oh, look at that. Here's a bail violation I did earlier.
Caroline, can I please?
Ronald, the thing is, the police are saying that this is a sexual assault.
Right. I mean, it isn't such a bad thing, is it? They want to put me on some register.
Don't worry, Caroline's done loads of sexual offences. The solicitor actually thinks it's good for a sex offender to be represented by a female barrister, like she believes him.
Ronald, the thing is, in order for this to be a sexual offence, it would have to be done with the intent of sexual gratification.
Oh, good, because I don't intend to do it that way. I don't intend to do it at all.
How do you mean?
Well, it's compulsive, isn't it? You do something once, then that pleases you somehow, and so you do it again, and soon you just find yourself doing it.
Just find yourself wielding a pair of scissors on an escalator.
Yes, you're just there doing a crime. Young man, you'll learn. The spirit is willing, but the flesh...
It's weak. Sorry,
thank you. Yes, that saved me having to bleep something which got a little bit fruity at that point.
Yeah, I just love that when she says, "Oh, there's a veil violation I did earlier." Those kind of throwaway lines are the things that I love in those kind of conversations. Shall I give you a headline? I've got two actually. I found
two heads are better than one.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought I'd go all carry on.
Matron.
And
just
say,
because I mentioned Kenneth Connor earlier.
What a lovely bunch of silly pleaders, I thought to myself.
Very nice.
And guilty of laughs in the first degree were the two headlines that
Does that mean you actually liked it?
Oh my word! Yes, this is. You know, there have been terrible things that came out of the COVID pandemic and the reaction that followed. And one of the big tragedies is that this didn't get a second series because they couldn't get diaries to work after everybody was all back at work, were they? So
surely they could do it if the will was there now.
Yeah, maybe the will is not there from the cast. Maybe they kind of think, well, we've done that.
Will Sharp is there, and Will Packham.
So the will
That's
is definitely
two wills.
there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I just thought, I mean, what a thing to throw away. This is that you couldn't at least get another series out of it. I mean, again, it's that casting, writing, acting, timing. I can't think of any more ings, to be honest with you. But Spring doesn't really work.
No, but you only wanted another ring. You didn't say it had to work.
Yeah, but how was it for you, darling?
I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised, because I do actually want you to enjoy these shows. I certainly don't ever choose, and this is honest, no one will believe me. The more I try and sound sincere, the worse it gets. But I never actually choose a show to be hard for you. I always think there's some hope here. This one, it's probably a projection of how I have some reservations about it. I can sort of more than half agree with more than half of what you're saying, but
yeah.
I just found the frenetic pace. It just made me think I'm a little bit mature for this, and it was just a bit too pacey. It was trying a bit too hard to be too cool for law school. And, I knew I didn't know the music, but I kind of guessed that if I'd been half my age, I would have done. And that's fine. I mean, what they call new music these days, if you've been around for a while, the Beatles did most of it about 50 years ago. So, but don't tell them I said that, Pike.
Do you want a Dolby with it, Grandad?
I know I sound ancient. I've got my bag on my head and my salad dressing, so I'll be fine.
Picking up on the thing you were talking about with pace, I just wonder, isn't that kind of like illustrative of because that's the kind of life that they lead, isn't it? It's like the play hard, work hard, the Japanese thing again, 18 hours, 20 hours a day.
Yeah, and it's very, very deliberate. I'm just betraying the fact that I struggle to keep up with it sometimes. That was on the first viewing, and I've broken free for one series only of being a Unitarian, and this is actually the second one I've seen in the series. I should say, I don't think I said it earlier, this is series 1, episode 4. Chosen for Nick Mohammed, who we'll get to doubtless because you're a huge fan in just a mo. But I did see series 1, episode 1 just a couple of weeks ago, which is the thing that brought it onto my radar, albeit as it turns out belatedly. And with one viewing, because that was just a personal viewing, rather than a Slab double viewing, I was missing bits. Maybe I was a little bit tired and maybe slightly refreshed. But I'm not saying that other people, least of all, are very bright and highly intelligent listening audience. I'm not saying anyone else would have that problem with it, but I struggled a bit.
I did, yeah. I see. For me, it kind of fell into that. It was, and you hit the nail on the head. I think a little while ago you were saying about how it's a life that you don't know anything about, and I felt exactly the same, and I kind of think it's I suppose the danger is that if you don't do things that people can relate to within the storyline, then you lock them out, don't you? Because they kind of think, well, this isn't a life I understand or I know about, and I'm not really bothered about it, and I can't really empathise with anybody, so bye, then I'm off. And I felt that they kind of the writing trod that line quite well. In as much as you're right, they were young. I mean, I just kept thinking, God, when you were young, you'd do anything, wouldn't you? But your priorities over time change so much, and it was a good lesson in that. I thought, there was that kind of feeling that these people were just climbing this greasy pole all the while, trying to get on and beat each other, and there's no morals, no scruples, and these are the people who are supposed to be upholding the law. Yes.
Well, I thought that bit of it was very good. Though I had a problem with dialogue being thrown away. For instance, and you helped with this, that first clip, can you, if you let's tot it up. I've watched the show twice, then I made the clips because we take it in turns. So it was my choice this week, so I made the clips. So I will have heard that line at least 4 times about the bail, and it's only when you said it was, right, that's what she said.
Yeah. She's not a very clear orator, is she, Catherine Parkinson? I love her, and I've loved her since I first saw her on the IT Crowd, but you're right. I mean, you've got to concentrate. I think it's because I always end up watching these with headphones on that I do catch more than you would if you just sat there watching it on the TV.
I wouldn't want to lay into her particularly, because that might be the way she's being directed, and also I think they are definitely going for a younger audience. We'll hear in the next clip, or we won't hear in the next clip, depending on how many times you hear it, or how much you can differentiate it. I mean, I couldn't believe. I think maybe I got it first time because more lip reading than from her delivery. But there is a line, and we'll get to it in a mo, which is really thrown away. And she's on a train, and she's on the phone on the train. So you've got train noise under it. And she, I mean, if I was sitting next to her, I think I would possibly miss what she was saying.
Right.
And I like to think, although it doesn't sound like it, but I like to think I've got pretty damn good hearing, even after all these years.
Pardon? There was wasn't there was a big hoo-ha about the sound on one of the programs, and they said, it was only a problem with older people.
Was that the Jamaica Inn? Could classic a few years back.
Yeah, it wasn't a program that was. He bad? I can't remember. I didn't.
I especially listened to it, and I wouldn't say it was the worst, but it's it depends what our drama schools are teaching actors. Again, I'll sound very old, but method actors tend to under-deliver because they say, well, this is realistic. To which my answer is, it's not realistic, it's TV, and you've got to be heard. There would be someone who I still think to this day I probably shouldn't mention by name, but one of the characters in EastEnders when I was working on that, he was throwing away stuff, and it's fine because he'd read the script, he'd learnt the lines, he was a pro, but you've got to be most people are watching the show once and once only, and you've got to, and they've got the dishwasher on and the washing machine and the kids screaming, and they put the kettle on, etc., etc. Life doesn't come with this pure anechoic chamber, which is what they test microphones and loudspeakers in. And so I tried to get him to do these lines again, asked very politely through the floor manager and all of that, but absolutely no change. He wasn't going to shift. And I had to give up in the end. And the sound mixer, which was mostly not me, but he just picked it up and had to do what he could with it. But with my apologies.
I mean, you do wonder whether in on the script of the direction it said your character doesn't speak very clearly, and so he's kind of like thought, well, I'm going to take that to heart, and that's what.
But you've got to be understood, haven't you? What's the point? You might as well write any old rubbish rather than worry about a storyline.
Yeah.
If you followed it to its logical extreme. Apparently, it's less of a thing in America. It's which makes me think it's a British drama school cultural thing.
The other thing is accents in this country, isn't it? I mean, compared to the States, in a densely packed piece of land, if you think of all the dialects and accents that you've got and how they range and change and, can go from one side of the river to the other, it doesn't help, does it really, in that sense with all of that kind of stuff? But no, Matthew Cottle, who played the offender in that scene that you just heard there, the only reason I know Matthew's name is because he used to be in a series called Game On. Do you ever remember that? Did you ever watch that?
I certainly remember the title.
And he played the flatmate that was bullied. He was like a really inoffensive, quiet guy. And I've always thought he was a great actor. But again, he's like, you kind of think, I don't know why his career didn't. Maybe he did more stage. And this is the thing, is that I've very often interviewed actors and said to them, you go and do you do 10 years of stage work, and that's what they love, and everyone thinks they've died. It's terrible, isn't it, really?
Well, if you do the numbers, you can play in one show, popular sitcom, you can play to between 4 and, if you're lucky, 8 million. Yeah. You couldn't possibly play to those numbers in the theatre if you work for the rest of your life every night of the week and 2 shows on a Saturday.
It's a different thing. I mean, this is why we took the kids to the theatre. I mean, all right, it was only to watch In the Night Garden, which is a children's TV programme, and they all prance around in costumes and that. But this kind of, I was talking about the time that I went to see Paul Nicholas. Fine actor in The Tale of Two Cities. I think he was in Windsor. It was a beautiful theatre there. We were talking about how nice we went to the Wolverhampton Grand Theatre to see this thing. We were just saying how the theatres are just gorgeous, with this wonderful ornate ceilings and all the rest of it. And I said, yeah, I remember we going to see Paul Nicholas in Windsor, and the theatre was like that. And as I talked about that, I could almost smell the theatre and with the smoke and all the other effects they had in. And I thought, it's something I really want to expose my kids to. This, theatre it's a very different thing from TV and film, isn't it?
Yeah,
hugely different.
It's just so immediate, isn't it? There's definitely something that the TV, for all the work people put into it, and the film and the technology. You can't be being in a room with fellow human beings who are close to you, and also you see them occupy the role, and they're 3D. Yeah. There's no substitute for that.
Well, I turned to the guy next to me, a complete stranger, and I said to him, that smell. He said, I know, I can't help it, I'm old.
But not as old as you,
exactly.
He added, with a bit of a barb. Right, I'll dig you out of yet another hole you appear to have dug yourself. Shall we have our second clip? Yes, correct. We find Will and Caroline. It was interesting. I think it's because we have to be a bit careful with music. So a lot of the show is plastered in music, and we didn't want to get banned from YouTube or just blocked. Although I suspect a lot of it, there's a sort of party set up. I think a lot of that would be library music that oughtn't to get us blocked, but I didn't want to risk it. So apologies that we're in a sort of smaller environs with 2 of the same characters again, but it is a key relationship, as you will have gathered, between Will and Caroline. They're on a train this time. The phone will go a bit later on, if that's not obvious. I think it probably will be. What won't be obvious is that when Caroline picks up the phone, then Will puts on his headphones and kind of looks out the window, so he's not hearing what she's saying on the phone. Other than that, I would hope it largely speaks for itself.
I think Mars was a bit soft on Dr. Khaled.
He's weakened lately. Fatherhood, probably.
So Ashley mentioned that you got divorced recently.
That is true.
Do you maybe want to talk about it?
What the is this?
No, it's just, I realise that we don't really know that much about each other, and isn't that weird? I mean, we spend an awful lot of time together.
Oh my God, you're in love with me.
Sorry?
I don't blame you, it was bound to happen.
All I mean is, like, it might be nice for us to get to know each other a bit. Like, maybe we could go bowling. Yeah, no, take it, obviously.
Caroline, it's Fiona.
Oh, yeah, what do you want?
The Young Bar Society event tonight, you're going, aren't you?
No, wasn't planning on going. Why?
Caroline, we spoke about this. It's important to seem like you care a little about the wider bar. go to the party. I want you to meet Tony Markham from the Female Bar Society. She can really help you.
Yeah, networking really isn't my thing.
She knows we're coming. Silk, Caroline, Silk.
Yeah.
That woman on the other end of the phone, from what I remember, and they don't really go into great depth in this particular episode, but she's like a kind of agent for it. It's a really odd relationship. It's something I never knew happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get that degree of accuracy about it. I just could tell she was higher status. 'Cause obviously, she's telling her to do something. So, but no, I didn't know about that. Is it almost like a sponsor? Someone?
Something that I can't rightly remember, but I remember thinking I didn't even know it was a thing at the time. You know, that these people had people who they engaged in order to help them to achieve silk. I read a fabulous book by the what's he called? I can't remember what he's called. Is it The Secret Barrister? Have you heard of him?
Does he blog and all of that?
I think he could do. I'm not really quite sure. I think he's an older guy. I'm not really quite sure whether people know who he is, or whatever. But he'd written a book about all of this and about what you have to do and how you have to go and have your dinners at wherever and all this sort of, and all this kind of thing. And after he'd explained it, and I thought, I still don't really understand it. I haven't got a clue. I still don't know what he's
wasted his time then.
Yeah,
and he'll remain a secret.
Did it all through this? There was a really, really poignant sadness that I felt through all of this. Didn't you? It was like there were really unhappy people in a brutal world, and it's a really odd one. I'm not sure how well it treads the line between comedy and drama, or even how easy it is to tread that line. Did you get a sense of that it trod too much on the side of drama than it did on the side of comedy?
No, that was more, to be honest, that was more my worry that it would be your worry, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit more tolerant of that and going without laughs for a bit longer. I do like them, and they were there, but there were times that, I admit, by way of fleshing out my answer, that they were a bit few and far between at times. But there's very much the modern way, isn't it? The hybrid genre dramedy.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, although I've kind of realised now that I'm more tolerant of it if I like the drama, and I really like the drama.
It drew you in. It sounds like.
It still made me laugh. I mean, there's that wonderful scene where the young girl Pia, who's like working so hard, she's so tired that she falls asleep at her desk, and they're having there's a kind of random conversation going on. She suddenly wakes up and shouts Jumanji, which
I didn't get the reference. Help me out there. You obviously did.
It's a Robin Williams film, a kids film. Where they play this board game and they have to shout Jumanji in order to get into this fantasy world.
That's a bit subtle, isn't it? I mean, not everyone's going to have seen that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they've referenced it in The Simpsons. One of the funny lines in The Simpsons, I thought, where Homer's like being chased by somebody and he suddenly shouts Jumanji and he goes, "Does nothing off films work?" It's like he expected something to happen because he shouted Jumanji, But
that wasn't Robin Williams playing the doctor on a children's ward, was it? I'm probably confusing films, and it doesn't matter anyway.
Do you know? I'll be honest. I'm going to level with you. I know of it, but I've never seen it. I've never seen the film. I just know of it. But
okay. What about Nick Mohammed, your mate, and the reason I chose this particular episode because I could see it's the only one I'm guessing that he has a part in this series.
mean, he does bumbling so well, doesn't he? He does this. I mean, he was an expert witness who, quite clearly. Sorry, that's my cat meowing. If you could hear that,
I enjoyed that.
Quite clearly, would just say whatever he was told to say for whoever side he was working.
Yeah,
for.
they had to remind him when they had a conversation on the steps outside the court. They had to remind him that they were actually defending rather than prosecuting, and he just swapped sides.
They told him what the defence strategy was. He went, "Oh, how ridiculous!" and he said, "Oh, that's what they're going with, is it?" And he went, No, we're the defence. Oh, right. Well, that's quite plausible then, isn't it, really? It's just like, and I presume there are people like that
I mean, we laugh, but I think there's you could be put in the slammer for someone who hasn't done their homework and worked out which side they're on.
Yeah.
And in something in the blurb, presumably by the writer themselves, if not the marketing person for the show, has referenced, it exposes a system that's not fit for purpose. Well, I know people who think that for real, not as a comedy, but as more of a tragedy.
Yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, the interesting thing with all of that is that he doesn't let you down on the performance, does he, Nick Mohammed? He then, as Dr. Carlin, he then goes into the witness box and he's as inept
still
as
bumbling.
you think. He's still useless. So he's got to,
consistently useless. What about the writer? I did promise that we'd mention him, Kieron Quirke. Delightful name. Don't know if he's any relation to Pauline.
I couldn't find any. I did explore that avenue because I thought that was my immediate thought as well. Was that there was some connection there, but I couldn't actually see anything. I mean, I loved his stuff. I thought the writing was spot on. You found it a bit fast, did you? A bit pacey there.
Well, you could say that's more direction than writing, perhaps to an extent. But no, I thought the shape of the writing was really canny. I don't want to spoil it for particularly the last sequence, but you see some parallels, and it's actually, I think what I can say in generic terms, I think we've probably said already, which is, it's almost arbitrary which side anyone's on, and are the barristers any more morally superior to the people they're defending?
Yeah,
who might be guilty as hell, and I think it's sort of, at the very least, asks that question, if not answers it in the negative.
Big shout out to a guy. There was a guy there. Did you see Liam, the guy who was dancing at the party on his own, played by an actor called Hugh Coles, who I did a little bit of research on, and I thought, why haven't we seen him in? He's fabulous. I thought he was really good. He played this kind of always smiley, feckless, just wants to get on young barrister. And then when I looked him up, and apparently he's a rising star of West End theatre. That's where he's carving out his niche at the moment. So maybe, unfortunately, it means we're probably not going to see him on the TV, or we're all going to assume in 5 years' time that he's died. So
don't say that. Maybe you should head down the old M1 and make sure you see him in London's dazzling West End.
Yeah. Do you know how much it is to get down to your place on the train?
My place.
You softy Southerners have got no idea the hardships.
I said drive rather than, but then you got parking to worry about and congestion charge, even on a Sunday, would you believe? Sorry, just rolling back to Kieron from Mo, I saw that he wrote, do you see the comedy sketch writing he's done for Man Stroke Woman, which I enjoyed, which we ought to put on the slab one of these days.
Well, Will Packham, did you know Will Packham, Will Sharp, who played Will Packham, had written Flowers. Do you remember Flowers with Olivia Colman and Julian Barrett? And it's not one that we've actually slabbed.
I don't. What was the situation? What's the flowers of the title?
I think it's a family comedy. I think it's like a kind of a dysfunctional family, from what I can remember. But he wrote and directed 2 series of that. He's only a young guy, isn't he? You kind of think he's got a pretty bright future ahead of him, I would have thought.
Yeah, one to watch, definitely. Okay, I reckon it's that time wherein we give marks out of 5 each. Holt, who goes first?
You've got to go first. It's always me ends up going first. And
ridicule
me, and I feel all embarrassed.
I'm going to give it 3.5.
Ooh,
it's one of those larger 3.5s that could almost be a 4 on a good day, but unfortunately I didn't have a good day, so it's 3.5. I'm going to guess then you've got to be a 4, surely.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's my happy place for this time round. It's spurred me on so much to want to go back and watch it all over again. I mean, not this particular episode. I think 3 times, because I watched it originally before. Yeah, it's quite enough for anybody, because I'll start saying the words. Sing along or defending the guilty, it'd be called. Yeah. But yeah, so no, I'm going to back and revisit that. But yeah, it's a 4 from me. So 7.5 out of 10, not bad.
You're going to set some homework, are you not?
I thought, how about a bit of radio? A bit of a radio.
I'm always up for radio.
Okay. And it's one of those weird ones. If I tell you it's a show that's hosted by a stand-up comedian who used to be a police officer, does that give you any help at all?
It does, although I'm lousy with names, but I can see him now.
It is Alfie Moore.
Oh, yes.
You were trying to find out.
That.
The series in question.
What's it all about, Alfie Moore?
Exactly, yeah. The series in question is called It's a Fair Cop, and I'm going for Series 2, Episode 1, Reporting Crime. Although it does have, in later series, it does have some quite interesting titles, like one episode is called Barry the Burglar, and another one is called Punching Judy. So I thought we'll go for something that's a little bit innocuous. So Reporting Crime, Series 2, Episode 1, It's a Fair Cop with Alfie Moore is on the Slab next week. I was going to say it's time for us to go, and I'm going to put on my 3/4 length trousers because you can't beat air to the ankles. But we never got that far, did we, with that?
Well, no, I think that was referenced in the clip. Of course, it's the defendant. I don't think he's done any great favours for 3/4 length trousers, which I'm wearing, and I don't snip ladies' dresses. So it just proves you can have air to your ankles and not be a rotter at the same time.
It doesn't snip ladies' dresses, but fellas, you better watch out when he's on the escalator on the Northern Line.
And it's not just your dresses, gentlemen.
Jumanji.
Evening all.